Hi, good morning. So I want to thank everyone that has been there for my husband when I couldn't be there for him. And we never thought that this would happen to us. So I want to thank Martin, and I want to thank Gabriella, and I want to thank Adriana who met me in different circumstances. Wish it would have been better. And I want to thank everyone who's been there helping us and supporting us, because we never thought that this would happen to us. Buenos días. Le quiero dar las gracias a todos los que estuvieron ahí ayudándonos y apoyándonos. Nosotros nunca pensamos que eso nos iba a pasar, y estoy muy agradecida a Martin, a Gabriela y a Adriana por toda su ayuda, todo su apoyo. Gracias. Thank you. Okay. Whatever you want. I can start. So, January 17th is the date that we started like a normal day. That day we took our daughter to the doctor because she had just, regular cold. We live in New England. Kids get sick. So we took her for her checkup, and she had some medicines. We thought nothing of it. We said, it's okay, honey, you'll get better. Mommy will come back later and you'll be fine. And she was like, okay. She wanted to go to school, but she couldn't go because she was sick. So that's the day that we had our interview scheduled at immigration in Johnston. It was just a routine interview. I mean, we didn't think anything of it. So we arrived at our appointment, and Louis and I were in the waiting room just hanging out, talking about what were we going to do when we left there, which is definitely not how I planned the day on going. We were just planning on what to do that afternoon, and they called our names in for our interview, and the officer said to us, we're going to have you come in one at a time. First Louis and then myself. So he went into his interview, and I kept his phone. I said to him, your phone has more battery, mine doesn't. So he went in, and it was probably a 10-minute interview. Seemed fine. He came out fine. He said to me, oh, it went great, I love you. And then they called me in, and I went in for our interview, for my part of the interview, and I think it was maybe a 5-minute interview. It was just, we greeted each other, myself and the immigration officer. And he just asked me basic questions, which I answered. And then he said to me, well, everything's in order. It's a legitimate marriage. I don't have any more questions for you. We're going to go ahead and approve your petition. And then we got into some witty football banter. It was. I didn't think anything of it. I just figured, this is going great, because he said everything was fine. And then at the end of the interview, he said before I left, I had to speak to other immigration officials that were there. And when they came into the room, the two that I originally was speaking to, they stepped out of the room, and they left me with these other two officials. And they told me that I was, they came in because they had to detain me because I had a prior order of deportation. And that's when I was like, well, you just approved my marriage. Like, what do you mean I have to go with you? And I asked them if I could speak to Louis, and they said no. And I'm like, but why not? Like, I need to tell him what's happening. And they said, no, we're going to inform him of what's happening, and you can make your phone calls when you reach our immigration office in Warwick. So, and they told me, like, is there anything you want to give them? And I said, of course, I want to give them our pictures that we brought and our album, and I wanted to give them everything. And I told them, I just wanted to speak to him. I wanted to say bye to him, because they didn't even give me a chance to say bye to him. So they just put handcuffs on me, and they said that I had to go with them, and I couldn't see him, I couldn't speak to him, I couldn't even tell him what happened. And that's what made me feel worse, because like I said to him, like, I would have known that they weren't gonna let me see you again. Like, I would have given him a hug, I would have told him how much I love him, that it was gonna be okay. And they didn't. And then they brought me to the immigration office in Warwick, and I was there for I don't know how long, and I asked them if I could make a phone call to my lawyer or to my husband, and they told me no. They told me that I had to be processed first. And I said to them, but they don't know where I am. And they said they do. We informed them of where you were being brought. So once they processed all my fingerprints and my pictures, then they had me wait a little longer, and then they brought me into an office, and one of the officers said that I was going to be transferred to, this was before I called anyone. They told me I was going to be transferred to one of the correction houses in Boston. So then I said to him, okay, but I still need to speak to my husband. I want to call him, and I need to call our attorney. And that's when they finally let me make a phone call. And I said to him, you know, they're moving me, and I don't know what to do, and they're telling me to sign these documents, and I'm like, I don't know what anything is. And he said to me, like, you know, don't sign anything if you don't understand what it is. Just leave it alone. So when I finally did get to speak to him, and then I spoke to our attorney after, and then our attorney went to the immigration office to see if she could have them let me go, like, release me, and they wouldn't even let her come in and talk to me at the time. They wouldn't let me see my attorney, and they transferred me over to the Suffolk House of Corrections in Boston. And then I got processed again, and then they moved me into, I didn't make a phone call until I was actually in the ICE unit in Suffolk. And it wasn't easy because no one knows what's going on. None of the officers at the Suffolk House of Corrections, none of them have answers for immigration. And all they know is that we're detained, and they can't help us, and they don't have any answers to any of our questions. Even as I was like, I need to call my attorney, and we can only use the payphones that are there. So I called Lewis to tell him, like, where I was, because even he didn't know, like, where I was or where I was staying or who I was staying with. And then he finally, like, you know, got in touch with Martin. And then I met Martin. And, you know, I knew things would be easier because, I don't know, speaking to Martin, and then he just made me feel calm. And so while I was there, it was not okay, because the ladies in the ICE unit, they kept on asking me, why are you here? And even the officers at the moment, they're like, how are you ICE? Why are you here? No one understood how I was ICE, why I was there. You know, all the officers, every time I got moved, they kept on asking me, how are you ICE? And the first thing they would say to me is it drugs? And I'm like, no, it's not. And that's the problem. Everyone thinks that when you're detained because of drugs. And I'm like, it's the opposite. If you were to hear my story of everything that I tried to do, it's not. You know, it's not just because our administration says they're detaining criminals or they're detaining drugs, but they don't tell you that all the women in that ICE unit are moms and their grandmothers and their daughters. And when I was there, there was probably a few other women that were also there because they also went to their immigration interviews with their husbands who are citizens, and they have citizen children. And then they were detained as well with no reason, no explanation. And some of them have been there a month, 2 months, 3 months. I met a lady that was there for 3 years. And she was shuffled from one place to another place to finally where we were. She didn't know what her situation was. She just knew she was waiting for her release. And no one knows what to tell you. And no one has any answers for you. They have these ladies that came in, and they have caseworkers at the Suffolk House of Corrections, and they have two at the moment for the whole institution. And I feel like I guess they're. And they came in to see if they could help me. One of the ladies came in, she's like, I don't know anything about immigration. I can't help you. I don't know what to tell you. I can't do anything for you. We're here because we work for the jail and we have to be here, but I can't help you. I can't do anything for you. And that's when I said to her, well, can I make a phone call? She goes, yeah, I can help you make a phone call. And that's it. That's all they can do for you, because they don't know anything about immigration. They don't know how to help these women. And they don't know how to help me. And, I said to them, it's okay. I understand you can't help me, and that's okay. But you're helping me by just, listening. And then I told her my story also, and she didn't understand. She goes, well, why are you here? That's not, just why did they detain you? It doesn't make sense. And I said to her, I know, none of this makes sense. It's not okay. We were, and then as the week goes, so then I finally was able to talk to Lois. And as the week went by, we were, I guess, put into this, the system, and their system is what they call orientation, and they make you go through the steps that you would if you were detained under other reasons. So we did what they call orientation and what they call classes, and we had to sit through videos that had to do with rape in prison. And all I could think of while I was there was I can't believe I'm sitting through a video of how did I get raped in prison. Because just the other day I was picking up our daughter from school, and I was thinking, okay, what are we going to do for winter so we can be cabin fever, and then here I am a couple days later watching these videos on rape, and watching these videos on drugs and alcohol and domestic violence, and I'm I can't believe I have to sit through this and listen to not only is this traumatic that I'm here and I'm with my family, but now I have to listen to other people's stories and the things that they go through and things that they go through in jail, because that's what it is. And I asked one of the officers, do I have to go to this? I don't want to go. It doesn't pertain to me. If I needed to be here for those reasons, I would want, this is great. You guys have help for people that need it, but I don't need that kind of help. I need immigration help, and you guys can't provide me with that. You don't know anything. And I was told, you have to go because it's part of the process, and if you don't go to the process, you'll go into solitary. And I was like, what do you mean? And it's you'll go into solitary confinement until you agree to do what you're supposed to do here, because it's not a choice. You're you don't have a choice. And I'm yeah, but I didn't choose to come here. I didn't make any wrong decisions to put me in here. So then after orientation was all said and done, and same thing, you have people come in and they talk to you, and they talk to you about the help that's out there for women and everything, but none of them that came offered any immigrational help or help for our kids who don't see their mommy anymore, or how do you explain that to them? They only offered help for people that had addiction problems or abuse problems or things like that. And then here we are sitting here, and I'm I don't have those kind of problems. I have immigration problems, and you can't help me, but yet you're forcing me to sit through these classes and these things that, thank God, I don't know. It's just, so anyways, at the end of the orientation, they make us pick these classes because they want us to be productive. They want us to not sit in our units, and they want us to get out. And I remember saying to one of the ladies there, one of the caseworkers, I said, do I have to pick a class? I really don't want to go outside of my unit because I feel safe where I am. the ladies that are all there, we're all the same, you know, we're all moms, we're all trying to help each other, we care for each other. I didn't meet anyone who wasn't nice. And now you're telling me that I have to pick a class, and a class that doesn't even pertain to me because it was anger management, it was Narcotics Anonymous, it was domestic violence, it was like HIV and AIDS classes. I had to live with it, and I'm like, I don't want to leave my unit. I like my unit. The ladies are nice, you know, like we talk to each other. We're kind of each other's support system. And she said to me, you need to pick something, because if you don't pick something, you'll go into solitary. So it was like every time I would either say something or disagree with something, it was automatic. You need to do what we say or you're going to be put in solitary. And I didn't understand why, because I told her I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything wrong that would put me in this position. All I tried to do was go to an interview with my husband, and then here I am, like, X amount of weeks later, in a place that's 30 plus women, and we don't have an option to do what we want to do. Like, it's what we're told to do, and that's it. Like, there's no, you can't even ask questions, because automatically, you know, you'll get threatened with either going into solitary or something else. But it's questions that we need answers to, you know. That's why we're asking them. Even as simple as trying to get into contact with Martin or with Adriana. I had to call Louis through a payphone and say to him, I need to speak to Martin or I need to speak to Adriana, because when we tried to call our lawyers, there's another number that you dial. It wasn't letting us make any outside phone calls to our lawyers. It would say all our lines were blocked. And we couldn't communicate. I couldn't communicate with Martin, and I couldn't communicate with Adriana. And the other ladies who were there, who some of them, you know, they didn't speak English, they would ask me to help them, and I would help them. And I would say, you know, it's not going through, you can't call your lawyer. And they would ask me why. And I would say, you know what, I don't know, but we can ask the officer that's in charge of our unit. And when we would ask our officer, she would say, oh, I don't know, why not? You just have to bring that up with your caseworker. Fill out a form, and your caseworker will see you. But sometimes our caseworker wouldn't come for 2 or 3 days, so if you needed to speak to your lawyer, you had to wait until a caseworker would come and let you use a private line to call your lawyer. But I'm like, but what if it's an emergency? And we're supposed to be able to call our lawyers anytime we need them. And we couldn't. Like, some of the ladies couldn't call their lawyers, or sometimes they couldn't get through. And I remember on occasions I would call Louis and I'd be like, hey, so-and-so needs to call her family and she hasn't been able to. Can you call them and tell them that she needs to talk to them? And he did that for a few of the ladies in there. And I'm like, you know, I have him. And some of these ladies, when they couldn't call anyone, it's like, you're stranded, you're stuck, you can't, you're like a sitting duck. You know, you're just waiting for someone to help you or figure things out for you, because you can't even communicate with your lawyer when they tell you, oh, you can call your lawyer whenever you want. I'm like, no, you can't, because your phones aren't working. And then when we tell you that there's a problem, your answer is, I don't know, talk to your caseworker. And then when you talk to your caseworker says, oh, I don't know, because I don't understand, because it's immigration. So it's just, you know, it's never ending. Then this is a month. I can't even imagine being in there 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, because what I notice is that all the women that are there, they've been there at least a month, and some of them have been there a month longer, and they're still waiting to hear what's going on with their case. And they get nervous every time another day passes or another week passes, because they don't hear anything, and they try to get information and no one knows anything. 2 weeks ago, it goes back to no one knows anything. 2 weeks ago, I was told, it was not 2 weeks ago, last Wednesday, I started normal. You know, they woke us up for breakfast and they told me, when the officer called my name, and he said to me, Lilian, you need to pack up your stuff because you're being moved. And I asked him, do you know where I'm being moved to? He said, no, all we know is that you're being moved. Okay. Every officer that I spoke to that morning inside the correctional unit, they kept on asking me, how is it that you're ICE? Why are you here? And every time I would explain to them, they wouldn't get it. They're like, no, that's not ICE. And I'm like, clearly it's ICE. I'm here. You know, like, you can't tell me, though, no, that's not how ICE works when I'm here and I didn't do anything. And all the officers would say to me, well, is there anything with drugs? Are you here because of drugs? I'm like, no, I'm not here because of drugs, and that's the problem. Everyone thinks that when you get detained by ICE, it's because it's either drugs or violence or a crime. Like, it has to be a crime related. If not, they're not going to detain you. But it's not true. Because I've never, like I said, we would take our daughter to school. We would pick them up. We would take them to the park. We would take them to the library. They had a schedule. They had some form of normalcy. There was never anything wrong. Never anything that would lead to a crime, you know. So for you to think that I had to be picked up because it was either drug related or violence or some sort of crime, like, that's a misconception. It's not. You know, they don't understand that we're all moms. We're all trying to figure things out, or daughters, or even there was a couple of grandmothers in there. And I'm like, why are you here? You know, what happened to you? The same thing. They're just trying to go through the system, and the system just picks them up and tells them, you have to wait here until we figure out what to do with you. And then they say to me, well, maybe I shouldn't have gone through the system. And I'm like, no, because you're trying to do the right thing. But it's a broken system. It's a system that tells you do this. And you do it because that's what you're told. But they don't tell you that the outcome isn't going to be a good outcome for you. No one tells you that the system that you're trying to go through is eventually going to have cracks. And if you fall into those cracks, you fall into a detention center. They don't tell you, you know, that you're going to be detained, or that you're going to be processed, or that you're going to be thrown into this world that you never even thought of, where you have to be put through this process, which is like if you're a criminal, you know, and you have to go through all these things. And so, anyways, back to last week. Sorry.
Well, Lilian, why don't we take a break?
Yeah.
So you can
yeah.
collect yourself, and let's hear from the others. Thank you very much.